Welcome to a bonus interview edition of Your Daily Detroit for Monday, March 11, 2019. I'm Sven.
And I'm Jer. Friends, it's been a long winter. And if you're anything like us, then you've got a raging case of cabin fever. And there's only one way to beat it.
That's right. We noticed some new signage up at the former Palmer Park Golf Course headquarters announcing something called the Detroit Exploration and Nature Center. So we dropped by on a recent day to find out what it's all about and take a walk into the great outdoors, Detroit style.
So bundle up and let's head into the wintry woods of Palmer Park.
So my name is Jac Kyle. I'm a recreation instructor with the City of Detroit, Parks and Recreation Department. And I will be working more in Palmer Park now, at the corner of Woodward and 7 Mile.
And what's the name of the new place? It's the Nature and Exploration Center?
Yeah, so Detroit Exploration and Nature Center. A lot of times I just call it the den. So a den is a place where animals kind of seek refuge and create a cozy space. And so I was kind of hoping to kind of recreate that with youth and community members here too.
The new Nature Center aims to breathe life into the former Palmer Park Golf Club office. It's a small cinder block building with modest amenities off 7 Mile next to a police precinct headquarters. The golf course is in significant need of expensive repairs and hasn't been open since 2017. Any kind of plans for that building or anything like that?
Yeah, so unfortunately it would cost millions to run it as a golf course. And so the city had to make a hard call and be like, okay, we don't have the funds right now. And so instead of leaving it unoccupied, they're like, okay, we have this program housed in Rouge, but without a house, right? We didn't have an office space. And so we moved our office spaces in there. And then they saw it as an opportunity. Okay, well, let's get kids in here, you know? So for school-based programs and community programs. So yeah, we're definitely utilizing that building. As you saw when you first came, it's kind of just a building, and we hope that the magic will be when people and programs come fill it. So it'll be a lot of program-based instead of just people coming and passively learning, I'd say.
The Nature Center at Palmer Park is an extension of an existing city-run outdoors and camping program centered at Rouge Park, Detroit's largest public park.
So I was hired on for the Detroit Outdoors Collaborative, which is an urban camping program in Rouge Park at Scout Hollow. And so I started in January, kind of worked up. It was our first season last year, and so it was amazing to kind of reactivate a former campground. And then as that was developing, the city was really excited to bring back nature-based programs. That's something they haven't been able to offer. And so they're looking to expand their efforts here at Palmer.
Beyond a new sign announcing its presence, the Exploration Center is in its infancy and is taking its time getting up to speed. Kyle says she's doing a lot of brainstorming and fielding suggestions from neighbors and teachers.
So to start, we're going to have Exploration Saturday programs. So free programs, open to the public. Some are geared towards little kids, some are big kids, family-friendly programs. And it will be, guided hikes, maybe some bird watching, crafts, looking to get some more materials to do deeper investigations. So maybe we can kind of explore what's in Lake Francis, look at things under the microscope, maybe draw some of the trees we see. So hoping to bridge outdoor recreation, arts, and just a community space.
A nonprofit group called People for Palmer Park runs events including art fairs, a winter festival, and the annual Log Cabin Day event. But it's the first time in years the city has run an outdoors program with a naturalist at Palmer Park. You've probably at some time driven along Woodward Avenue and turned to admire as you pass alongside Palmer Park. The woods there, sometimes called Witherell Woods, form a soaring, lush green oasis in the summer and a wild canvas of outrageous colors in the fall. The forest takes up about a third of Palmer Park's nearly 300 acres. And we have a former U.S. Senator and his philanthropist wife to thank for them. Palmer Park was the former summer vacation property of Thomas Witherell Palmer, a lumber and real estate mogul, and his wife, Lizzie Merrill Palmer, the only child of a wealthy lumberman. Thomas Palmer won election to the Michigan State Senate, and he served one term as a United States Senator, acquiring a reputation as a staunch advocate for women's suffrage. Lizzie Merrill Palmer was a philanthropist whose name today adorns the Merrill Palmer Skillman Institute at Wayne State University. The two donated much of their former summer vacation property to the city in 1893 for the good of everybody, as Senator Palmer famously put it. He also did so on condition that the forest be preserved. A souvenir history about the park, published in 1908, described more than 70 kinds of trees found in the forest, including 7 kinds of oak, beech and hickory, and rarer species like sassafras, butternut, and slippery elm. So, what's to be found in Palmer Park today? From the windows that look out over the woods and the former golf course, Kyle says she sees deer, wild turkeys,
ton of geese. Geese are always here. There's a resident red-tailed hawk that comes over. The other day I walked in and I saw a red-headed woodpecker, a downy woodpecker, a blue jay all in one little spot. So like a ton of different birds. People have seen coyotes and foxes, which I have not had the pleasure of seeing, but I want to. I'm really hoping possums because they're my favorite animal.
I'm sure, yeah.
Oh, I love possums. I think the first thing whenever, bringing groups here is just taking a moment to kind of absorb, kind of like, what do you notice? What do you see? What do you smell? What do you hear? And one thing that I noticed right away is you can hear the traffic, but it is farther away, right? And so the trees are providing a buffer. We're in a forested section. And if you look down, you can just see the remnants of all these leaves. And so even just glancing on the ground, I can see a few varieties of oaks. I see some maple. I saw some beech.
cottonwood, I think.
Yeah, I saw a huge cottonwood leaf earlier. But there's definitely some grandma and grandpa trees here, right? You can see, looking at them, especially the oaks, you're like, oh my gosh, that's definitely 100, if not a couple 100 years old. And so it's pretty interesting to think of when that was just a seedling, what was going on in the landscape surrounding. I think trees are a gateway for that, where you look and you're like, wow, you've seen so much and lived through it all too.
The city reintroduced camping at Rouge Park on Detroit's west side last year, thanks to funding from the Kresge Foundation. The program is a collaboration between Detroit Parks and Rec, the Sierra Club, and the YMCA of Metro Detroit. The city provides access to the campground at Scout Hollow, plus equipment, but it lets private groups conduct the actual camping trips. That's, I'm guessing, probably the only city-run campground in the city. In Detroit, right? It is.
So there used to be more camping and camping programs. This was a while ago. Then once again, the city had to shrink down its services. And so, now there's camping in Detroit. And it's so fun to see students and youth to be like, I'm still in Detroit. And we were talking about turkeys earlier. And there's turkeys in their campsite. And then all of a sudden they're eating breakfast. And shh. And they look over and there's a deer, and they're literally eating oatmeal and there's a deer nearby. And so that's a magical spot too. And I think just kind of how we're walking here, spending a night outside is really, really powerful, not only to connect with place, but to each other. Students I didn't think we could get closer and now we're closer. Or I've never actually really talked to that guy before. And he always had headphones in, but we had some good conversations. So,
any thought to bringing a campground here to Palmer Park?
I've actually had a lot of people ask me that. And so there's things to explore with that. I mean, obviously the fact that people are excited makes me excited. And this is just so beautiful, right? It'd be really cool to almost have a quasi backcountry site or something. So it's definitely something we're interested in looking into. I think once, just like Rouge Park, that was a multiple year process. It'd be a long-term thing, but definitely something we're looking to explore. And then also throughout the city, right? So we've had community groups come saying, Rouge Park is awesome, I love it, but what about my local park? I would love to take my youth group to their park. And just how excited people are there's a lot of energy there. So.
Kyle formerly worked as a naturalist in Washington State, both in a rural area and in Seattle. She says the challenges of getting people to connect with their natural surroundings are more or less the same, even if Detroit presents some unique challenges and issues.
There's definitely a lot of efforts here to get people outside and connected and enjoy nature. And then also just the diversity and representation piece, right? Where in Washington, we talked a lot about the nonprofits are really focusing on habitat restoration and these salmon and the bald eagle and these animals, right? And I feel the work here is more environmental justice, environmental health, how to make sure people are living in a healthy way with the environment, connecting people to the environment. And so I think in terms of creating clean air and clean water, there's some issues here that are just more pressing to people's daily lives,
Yeah, we don't have salmon streams here. We have like lead contamination in the soil and people who don't have like easy access to the woods and things like that.
Right, yeah, or easy access to water in their house.
Ultimately, Kyle says she wants the Detroit Exploration and Nature Center to serve as a place for learning, where people can connect with the natural world, where students can extend their learning beyond the classroom and families can plan a camping trip, or just break some cabin fever in the wintertime.
Hopefully do some winter-based programs, as we were talking about cabin fever and this thing, sometimes we get isolated in these dark winter days. And so let's go outside, bundle up, get warm, and see these remarkably resilient creatures that live out here.
Friends, thanks so much for listening. If you like what you hear on Daily Detroit, consider supporting us on our Patreon page at patreon.com/dailydetroit. I'm Sven Gustafson. Take care of each other, and we'll see you around Detroit.
You're listening to the Podcast Detroit Network. Visit www.podcastdetroit.com for more information.